Is he the greatest point guard ever? Yes, zero doubt. He's a point guard. People ask if Steph's a point guard or a shooting guard. Honestly, what are we even talking about? He's an assassin. Plain and simple. He's a point guard to me. He changed the game forever. Nobody has ever dropped shooting guard numbers from the one spot night after night. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever made. I have nothing but love for Steph. Respect for so many of these guys, really. It is just wild to think about. When the debate starts about the top point guards, they ask if he's really a point or a shooting guard. What is that even about? What position is he listed at? That is my point. So when we rank the legendary floor generals, you cannot leave him out. I said it years ago, the guy is an absolute killer. Sure, he has that baby face, but he is a cold-blooded assassin. With everything he did to the game, you cannot exclude him. He's a point guard, period. When people ask if he's a point or a shooting guard, that's a compliment. They only ask that because he shoots the lights out. You do not see traditional playmakers lighting it up from deep like him. But here's the thing. When you break down exactly why he's a true point guard, you look at his reads. If you actually watch him work, and I have seen the absolute best, the defensive schemes he has to dismantle are unreal. Braun never saw them, Kobe never saw them, and Michael Jordan never did either. No player in league history has faced the wild defensive coverages thrown at Steph. Even with all that attention, he still hands out 6 or 6.5 assists a night. I get 7 or 8 assists just from him drawing the defense, making a quick read, and letting me play make off the secondary action. He's definitely a point guard. That's the ultimate compliment. You're so dominant at one skill they try to label you as something else. He remains the greatest shooter God ever created. He shoots 42.8% from deep for his career. The man is automatic. He is a 90% free throw shooter over his career. Averaging 24.6 points per game and winning 4 rings, he's the undisputed leader of that Golden State franchise, a high-class guy. When you judge a floor general, you look at their overall impact on the game, not just basic stats. We are past the era of the traditional pass-first point guard who just runs plays. That is not the standard now. We are talking about leadership and dictating the flow. Magic dominated through sheer leadership and size. At 6'9", his ability to push the ball up court and deliver perfect passes to Kareem, Worthy, and Norm Nixon was legendary. He ran with Byron Scott, Michael Coop, Michael Thompson, and Kurt Ramos, all of those Showtime guys. Meanwhile, Steph Curry breaks defenses by moving off the ball constantly, using his lethal gravity to warp the floor. When you analyze what he brings to the hardwood, from the stripe to way beyond the arc, in transition, and how he has revolutionized the actual sport from the point guard spot, you can easily argue that Steph Curry's footprint is actually greater than what Irvin Magic Johnson did. The man's just that unreal. Yeah, you cannot just brush that argument aside. I agree. He's got a very strong case to make there. Just look across the league and see how much everyone values the three-point line today. It is not just about spacing the floor anymore. Now we expect players at all 5 positions to hit outside shots. You need shooters everywhere to keep defenses honest and open up the lane. Spacing changes everything. That spacing lets your guards attack and create clean driving lanes. Honestly, him and Clay and that Golden State squad changed the game forever, for better or worse. I love Steph. He's completely revolutionized how basketball is played at every single level. Coming into the league back in 2011, I only saw flashes of what he could do because of those early ankle issues. But once he caught fire, the entire league was on high alert. For me, coming up as a young lead guard in Cleveland, he was the guy. He set the benchmark for what a modern guard should be, pulling up off the dribble, breaking defenders down, and drawing 3 defenders with him everywhere he went on the court. Battling him on the court has been incredible, but studying his game closely has built an even deeper level of mutual respect. I see the moves he makes, and I know he is watching mine too. We are just out here leading the next generation of players coming up behind us. The guy just does so many special things on the court. Honestly, I could go on and on about Steph. I love that dude. Battling him on the hardwood, even when he hung 50 points on me, made me respect him like a brother in arms. But when we step onto that floor, we are still competing at the absolute highest level. Talk about pure influence. At least, since I have been watching and studying the game, Steph and Allen Iverson are the 2 most influential players in basketball since I started watching and covering the league. Allen Iverson and Steph were just so relatable. Kids felt like they could grow up to be them. They were the underdogs, guys who were not always counted on to make it. Both of them were smaller guards who completely defied the odds. You had AI with that unbelievable crossover, the cornrows, and the iconic arm sleeve that changed the culture. Everyone wears a sleeve now because of Allen Iverson. And then you have Steph shooting over the Empire State Building. They completely changed the whole game. From how they changed the play style to how they inspired kids, those are two guys you simply had to watch every single night. Enter Steph Curry, bringing it down. He already has the advantage because he is the greatest point guard to ever play. The second he crosses half court, he is a major threat. What other point guard crosses half court and forces you to pick him up immediately? Steph is a brutal matchup. How many point guards in history can break a defender down and get their shot off? Real talk. Back in the day, you needed a go-to move or a specific sweet spot to get to. You look at guys like Rod Strickland, who was unguardable, or Nick Van Exel, who could get anywhere on the floor. Getting to those spots was incredibly rare. But Steph can do that the second he crosses half court, completely effortless. That is why I say it. Think about it. He is the ultimate mismatch. In a 1-to-5 pick and roll, what do you even do? Exactly. If the big drops, he pulls up for three. If they blitz him, he hits Draymond Green rolling down the middle, or he splits the defense himself. That is why Golden State was so lethal. Like Dre said, Allen Iverson faced strict man-to-man coverage. He dealt with double teams, but Steph has had to face every single defensive coverage imaginable. But his high IQ combined with Dre's intelligence and the flow Steve Kerr designed for this offense, you have to give them credit. Absolutely. It marries everything together perfectly, creating the ultimate system for how he plays the game. Most of his looks come from him setting screens or slipping them to get open. He is running off dribble handoffs, passing and chasing, and pulling up for shots, all while making split-second decisions on the fly. He has made more backdoor cuts in the last 2 or 3 seasons than I have ever seen in his entire career. He reads when defenders overplay him. He cuts backdoor, and Dre leads him with a pass before he even moves. Dre has to visualize exactly where that bounce pass needs to land so Steph can catch it in stride and lay it up. That is the absolute beauty of the whole Golden State system that I always marveled at. I used to imagine myself playing alongside those two guys. That would be wild, bro. You beat us in 4, let us go. Seriously, I would gladly come off the bench. I am not tripping. That is me now. Look, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Steph is that legendary Davidson tournament run. That run was how he exploded onto the national scene. We heard about Steph Curry and thought, oh, that is Dale's son. Oh, okay, so he can shoot. But then we saw a completely different beast at Davidson, and we are still watching that same beast today. You know what it is? He is a point guard who puts up points like a traditional shooting guard. They call Steph a hybrid guard. Like Penny Hardaway, Steph Curry is just a point guard who completely revolutionized how we play. I have never seen anyone put up elite shooting guard numbers from the point guard spot night in and night out. Allen Iverson was a shooting guard, right? Steph is basically doing what Iverson did, but running the point. It messes with people's equilibrium because that is not what you traditionally see. Let's look at the X's and O's. For years, I've called Steph Curry the vanguard of this era. He's not a point guard or a shooting guard, just something we've never seen before. When you call Steph Curry the greatest shooter God has ever seen, it's not just catch and shoot. Usually, the best pure shooters don't have elite handles, and usually, the guy with crazy handles isn't a master at playing off the ball, running dribble handoffs, and constantly relocating. He does all of that. We've simply never seen anything like it, plus a Game 7 performance like his is just unbelievable. This is exactly how superstars carry their teams when the stakes are highest. And let's not forget that final stretch with 6 minutes left on the clock. He already has 45 points. During a timeout, he looks right into the camera, walks off, and says, "They can't finish. They can't finish." That's what he said. This is how he redefines the point guard position, especially in an era where everyone claims positions don't matter anymore. They call it positionless basketball, but then people argue if he's even a real point guard or not. But let me tell you how I view the point guard role for the Golden State Warriors. Honestly, you're the true point guard. You rack up more assists than Steph, you bring the ball up, initiate the offense, set the defense, and run the show. Meanwhile, Steph flies off screens, catches, shoots, and plays as the single greatest shooter we've ever witnessed. What he has done for this entire generation, and the unique way he won his championships, is completely different from how anyone else has ever tried. When you look at the legends Steph emulated, he always brings up guys like Reggie Miller. He mentions Ray Allen, focusing on players who dominated by catching and shooting. But Steph has taken that style to an entirely different level. At his size, he's doing things no other player in history could ever dream of. He has truly created his own unique category. Is Steph the greatest point guard ever? We got over 2,000 votes. 72% say yes, 28% say no. So, Rashad, why are you pitting Steph against Allen Iverson? What is that argument? Well, the argument is basically that Brandon feels Steph is hands down better than Allen Iverson and all that. So, we started reminiscing about those classic days. We thought about how incredible Bubba Chuck was, carrying all those guys on his back. If he didn't do that, we'd be having a very different conversation today. Steph saved the day, but that's a ton of pressure. I even asked Iguodala. I asked both Iggy and Dwayne Wade, who was harder to guard. Honestly, they both said both players were nightmare matchups. They said you simply couldn't guard Allen Iverson one-on-one. As an individual matchup, Chuck was totally unguardable. He was just too fast. His speed and quickness were just overwhelming. It didn't matter if you threw a triple or quadruple team at him. You knew where he was, and you knew he wasn't a lethal shooter, but you still couldn't stop him because he was too fast. But they said once Steph crosses half court, good luck. He said Steph literally made you go to sleep early. The way they put it, neither of them wanted to pick a side. Both were completely unguardable in their own ways. I wouldn't want to defend either of them. They were both major headaches. They did completely different things on the court, but both were absolutely dominant in their respective styles. Yeah, we are talking about two of the greatest players to ever touch a basketball. He is still a top 10 player of all time in my eyes. That is Earvin Magic Johnson coming in at number 2. And at number 1, boom, put it up there. The light-skinned brother with the green eyes, Steph Curry. Other people can argue all day about whether he's a shooting guard or a point guard. To me, he's a point guard, plain and simple. He completely changed the way this game is played. He literally changed the game forever, for good. When it comes to the point guard spot, he is one of the most skilled players to ever touch a basketball and the undisputed greatest shooter ever. If you are getting emotional about it, that is your personal problem. This isn't your list, it's mine. That is Big Perk's list of the greatest point guards in league history. But I have to know why Steph Curry over Magic? You explain their greatness individually, but why did you actually put Curry ahead of Magic, Perk? Well, it's because he changed the game forever. When you think about Steph, he gave real hope to all the young kids out there who aren't 6 feet and taller. If you can shoot the ball, and if you can handle it, you actually have hope of making the NBA. Before, you had to be 6'5" or 6'6". It was almost like an NFL combine. They were constantly testing your physical measurements, your vertical, and all that. They still do it today, but the focus shifted because of a guy like Steph Curry. Will Bond and I watched that game together, and I told him, look, I am not declaring anything yet. I had to get educated by the godfather, Jalen. I had to get schooled by some Hall of Famers, nameless ones. But I literally said, is this man actually the greatest point guard to ever play the game? We have to start asking. Because when you look at his sheer impact and how much his gravity and shooting open up the floor, I have never seen anything like it. But I am not shocked. Tell me, are you the greatest point guard ever? Yes, it is me and Magic. That is the debate. We can dissect stats all day, but I was not around to watch Magic play. I know there are not many 6 to 9 point guards out there. Growing up in the 90s, nobody was trying to play like that. No one wanted to be 6 to 9 back then. But today, every kid tries to copy Curry. You look at the raw stats and say, okay, Magic first, then Curry. But when you watch these kids playing AAU, it is a whole different story. Yeah, obviously I have to back myself up, but to your point, Magic has an absolutely ridiculous resume. I mean, let us be real. So, being in that conversation at all? I never thought I would get here. But how you measure it is why we even have these debates in the first place. It is fun to talk about, but let us be real. Magic set a massive standard that is almost impossible to shoot for, right? So, I am still building. We will see what happens. I mean, Magic was really a point forward. I mean, you know how it is. I am just saying. It is a point forward over there. You know how they sort of cheat the position. That is a point forward. We have the actual point guard right here.